These trucks are powered by 450 horsepower Cummins L9 engines and Allison automatic transmissions, which means there's no shifting other than like you would in a normal road vehicle. Okay, there's no clutch pedal. All of the controls are here. The cabs are completely air conditioned and heated. One feature this truck has that our older apparatus does not is we have these zip-off covers. These are designed to reduce contaminants inside of the cabs. We have something that's actually removable and washable. Right? Try to keep the carcinogens down that get brought into the cab through efforts of firefighting. If you look at the riders area, you can see where we have our air packs set up here. They're installed in the seats. All right. See you guys. Thank you. We have a wide open floor concept in here too. We tried to reduce the number of seams and joints in the floors. This is going to keep them easier to clean and less contamination and intrusion of dirt into the cab. If you look closely, there's some compartmentalized pieces in there that we haven't had in previous pieces of equipment. We're going to carry all of our medical equipment inside of the cabs, but it's able to now be secured, as well as if there's any firefighting gear that's carried in the cab, they'll be also secured inside of these compartments. And if you take a look at that one closely, there's some netting over it that's going to help to hold everything in place.
So having like the medical equipment and the gear that maybe they use every day right in front of them, is that going to, you think, speed up responses a little bit than trying to go to the back of the truck to get something?
Now, generally, Justin, we keep our turnout gear right next to the door that you're going to use to get in and out of the truck. Gotcha. So if we're in the station and we get an alarm, the members will get dressed before they get into the truck. All their equipment will be, say, right here. Right, so if we're out on the road or returning from another call, this will enable us to carry gear in the truck, but where it's secured. We try to keep everything secured in the truck. You hope that you never have an accident in one of these, but it's a proven fact if one of these is involved in an accident, anything unsecured, including us, is going to become airborne, due to the sudden stop. So there's seat belts in all the positions now. All the seats are compliant with all rules and regulations, just like any other road-going vehicle, and the equipment's the same way. We try to tie it all down and keep it all in place.
Was that not the case before? Some of the older trucks didn't have seat belts?
The older apparatus that we have, for the most part, we've had provisions for that, but we've had to carry items like EMS supplies and some turnout gear in exterior compartments,
Gotcha.
Which it's not heated, it's not exactly the cleanest environment. With adopting the clean cab concept, that's going to enable to keep all of those items much, much cleaner and healthier for everybody.
And you mentioned the safety aspect of it. When you think of firefighting, maybe the public doesn't know, but you guys come out of those houses or buildings or whatever covered in building supplies.
Building materials, yep.
In many cases, that isn't healthy.
No, definitely it is not. So one of the other programs that we've implemented in recent years is having a decontamination procedure after the firefighting operations have ceased at a fire scene before we even leave to get back in the trucks. We will wash the tools down, we'll wash our gear down. We have provisions for the members to be able to doff their gear, all right, and then we'll enable another method if it's really, really, really sooty. We'll have another method to get it back to the station to get it laundered.
Gotcha. So now it's a lot easier, they can clean in there than before, with everything kind of being on one level, like you mentioned?
Exactly, yep. Yeah, kind of in the old days when we would get done with a fire, everything gets kind of put back in the trucks and we take it back to the station to clean it. Well, you're putting all that contaminated turnout gear and tools and other things that we've needed as part of doing our job, but then that stuff goes in the cab. We're going to really endeavor to try to not have that be the case. If we can remove as many of those contaminants out of the cab as possible to begin with, then it's less sanitizing and cleaning that we have to do to disinfect it to keep it safe for everybody.
Great. What other improvements are out with this truck versus previous?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Are there any other improvements along as we head to the back?
Not really. The pumps are similar. Pretty much a fire pump is a fire pump. So these are 2,000 gallon per minute pumps. They are similar to the one that's in engine 5. Our trucks have 6 discharges, okay? We have 4 pre-connected lines, all right? And we carry 800 feet of 4-inch supply hose and 800 feet of 2.5-inch supply hose.
Gotcha.
All of our cross lays have 200 feet of 1 3/4 hose with combination fog nozzles.
Okay. So you could pull up on a scene, you have enough water if something is immediately on fire to start fighting the
Yes.
fire before you get connected to a hydrant or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep. The trucks carry 500 gallons of water in their tanks. You can't really see the tank when the truck is all assembled, but there's a large tank in there. And that provides enough time for us to begin firefighting operations while the water source is being established from a fire hydrant.
Right. And I imagine that time is really important for life-saving measures.
It is. Time saving is critical. One of the things that Jamestown Fire Department prides itself on is initial attack and how quick we are able to implement initial attacks for keeping fires under control.
Yeah.
What that means, loosely translated, is the sooner we can get to the fire, the smaller the fire hopefully is going to be when we get there so we can extinguish it. The larger, obviously, the fire is, the harder it is for us to extinguish it.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the hoses are different in this one too, at least where they're placed, right? Compared to the previous truck.
No, they're pretty similar. Yep, and we're carrying the same hoses. Yep.
Because I know that one of the features that was discussed was it's easier now for firefighters to get the hoses down.
Yes,
back.
so I'll show you that in the back. The hose bed is actually lower.
Okay, got
Yep, it's not up in the air quite as high, which makes it far easier to deploy it when we arrive on a fire scene because time is of the essence there, but also makes it safer when we go to reload it back onto the truck. So one other feature that you'll notice with this truck, and we've had this on a few others as well, if we have 2 pre-connected cross lays that we can deploy off of either side of the truck. But in the winter time, when there's snowbanks or there's traffic parked near where we're at, we now have an ability to deploy off the back of the truck. We have another hose line that's connected back there. So we have 250 feet of pre-connected 1 3/4 hose connected to the back of the truck.
You're doing an excellent job. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks.
All the ones in front of the house, we shut them off.
I will. Thank you for coming down.
Curbs, falling down, stepping in potholes.
Please do. So Justin, as you can see here, this is our what we call our pump compartment. Since it's adjacent to the fire pump, we carry all of our firefighting appliances as far as water delivery goes in this one. In this compartment, we have a lot of our hand tools. This yellow nozzle that you see along the top here, this is for foam, for applying firefighting foam in the event of a fuel fire.
On Earth is when one of them starts to slide. I've had that happen.
These smaller compartments that you see on the sides, these make use of the kind of the dead space in between where the compartments are and where the wheel well is. So we carry our spare air bottles in here.
Yep.
And obviously that's the fuel fill.
Well, most of the time, but if it gets really
All the
icy,
places that you're aware of.
then we just
Plenty more, trust me.
In this compartment, we have a portable generator, which is a change from previous apparatus that we purchased. The truck committee felt for this one, instead of having a hard-mounted generator attached to the vehicle, we have one now that's portable that we can use to take off the truck and set up portable lighting in a more remote location if we needed to do that. The truck itself also has floodlights that are pre-installed on it, so we can light up a fire scene right from the street. And then we can see what we're doing at night.
And there were lots of times to get home, you would drive.
So this is set for the deluge. All right, so if we have to set up a large diameter firefighting operation where we're moving a lot of water, this is for our ground unit. All right, so we can connects to a 4-inch hose, so we can flow lots of water in a short amount of time with one of those when volume is of the key. This is what's known as a smoke ejector. All right, it's an electric fan for ventilating smoke. Use that for negative pressure ventilation.
I only have one thing. I said,
Earlier I had mentioned that the hose beds are lower than our previous designs. Our previous design hose beds would put the bottom of it right about here. This hose bed is about 13 inches lower than our previous designs, and we have a lower grab rail. So a member that's going to deploy hose from up here, they simply can come up like this. It's an easier step for them, and then they all have everything right at their hands.
And that, I imagine, probably helps firefighters use less energy than trying to reach up higher.
It makes it easier to deploy the hose because the hose will come off the truck a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
when we're deploying the hose is when time is critical. When we're repacking hose, generally we're not in a hurry to do that, so you can kind of have a little bit less time. But even the design of our rear steps, we have this corrugated grating that's on here. This keeps it from becoming slippery, especially when you're wearing firefighting boots. Right? There's a rough surface here also, and it won't hold snow and ice. It's designed to drain all the way through, so you always have a positive surface.
I thought we got rid of all this.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier all of our ground ladders, our portable ladders, are now stored in an interior compartment. This is a big change. Most fire apparatus that we've ever owned, and fire apparatus in general, had the ground ladders mounted onto the side of the truck. We would have hooks that would hold them on there, but that exposes them to the weather. Right? Having them inside of here will keep them out of the weather. So if we're driving to a scene on a 32-degree day where there's wet snow, and then the ladder rungs would get all icy, and that's a hazard. So having them in here, this keeps them dry. It keeps them in a relatively warm environment. So when we deploy them, they're ready to go, and we don't have to worry quite so much about the trip hazards. Again, all about firefighter safety.
Yeah. It seems like that's what a lot of this upgrade is about, is trying to make things more efficient for your guys.
Exactly. User-friendly. Yes. In this compartment, we have some portable lighting. We invested in some of these a number of years ago, these large handheld portable lights. These have been very effective. In the old days, we had generators, we had portable lighting that had cords. The cords were very cumbersome, and sometimes the lighting would be a little bit less reliable because you had to deal with the cords. It took a lot more time to deploy those types of things. This is something that's very simple. A member simply can come over, loosen it up, and now you have a portable light. Sometimes you have to take the light to the work, and having the light be as portable and easily deployable as possible is going to enable that to all occur faster. These lights have LED lighting too, which makes them last for many hours versus minutes with our older style halogen ones.
Now this, I imagine, is pretty bright. It's not like...
It's very bright, yes.
Yeah.
It would definitely, you would want to wear sunglasses. In this compartment, this is our high-rise pack. High-rises are buildings that are tall in the city, right, that have standpipes in them. So we use these high-rise packs. This is something that we can carry into the building versus deploying hose all the way up the stairway in a large building. This is something we take upstairs, we connect it directly to the standpipe. So we have storage for that here. A couple of our more familiar hand tools. Again, more storage for the CBA bottles. Then in this particular compartment, this is set up for our hand tools. We've got some toolboxes in here. We're also going to be setting up a decontamination area on this side of the truck, since it's on the curb side, not on the street side. It's going to enable our members to have some decontamination areas, all right, and places to carry that type of equipment for sanitization. And again, it's all about firefighter safety, giving them the right tools to keep everything clean.
And then a few other hookups down
Yep.
here.
Got a few other hookups on this side. This is what we call our car line. This is the hose that we deploy for car fires. It's down low. Generally, when we go to a car fire, we're not going into an enclosed structure. So this is easily and quickly deployable. It's already down low. We can pull it out. You go down the street with it, and then you're ready to go wherever the car fire is. This is a large diameter discharge. If we ever needed to relay water for a long hose lay, like to supply another truck with water, that's what this is used for. It's also used for the deluge set that I showed you on the other side. If you had to set up a large defensive operation, this is the side that you want to connect to. So it's a 4-inch discharge versus a 2.5-inch discharge. So these are the nameplates that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
These go back to the early 1970s.
Wow. So you're really keeping that history. It seems like that was a vital part of having an updated truck with a new look, but you pay homage to the firefighters who were before you.
It's the fire service is steeped in tradition that way, and we always want to, remember those that have come before us in this business. And what better way than to honor something that they chose nearly 50 years ago to put on a piece of fire apparatus for Jamestown. This is a very unique to Jamestown thing. And we were actually quite honored to be able to return to that tradition and have those be installed on these pieces of equipment.
So the two engines then, are they both identical in the sense of same tools and that you showed?
Yep, both trucks will be outfitted the same. Both trucks are built exactly the same. They have the same engines, transmissions, pumps, water carrying capacity. The hoses and everything else are going to be all exactly the same. Yep. The more standardized we can keep our apparatus, the more easily deployed it is, because everybody's familiar with everything is stored on the vehicles.
Right.
Our other engine, engine 5, the one that's stored over on Fairmount Avenue, is very similar to this. That's a 2013.
Okay.
That was the first one of those pieces of equipment that we received from this particular manufacturer, and it's been very successful for us. The members have really, that truck has been very well received by the members. So if the members were certainly satisfied with that truck, I believe it's our job to give them a piece of apparatus that's going to work for them.
Yeah. And I know that this has been a while in the making to try to get these because of the pandemic and everything. How long did it take before when you ordered to now?
So the planning stages go back to 2018. I believe the actual specifications in the design phase probably began around September of 19. The funding was approved by the council late December of 19. And we took delivery from the builders in April of 21. So for a full custom piece, as these are, it takes quite a bit of time for them to put them together. Everything in here is all subject to specification and review.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a time. It's not like going down the street to buy a car from another lot type thing. Yeah, it takes a lot to put them together. And the apparatus manufacturers too, we're not the only ones that get custom apparatus, so you have to kind of fall into line with their other orders that they have going at the same time. And,
Right. That's great that you really have two brand new trucks. Are they hitting the road now? When do you think they'll be deployed?
Yep, we're going to be ready to deploy them. Yep.
Okay.
They're all lettered up. All the equipment has been installed in them. The hoses are in them. We're ready to run them.
Okay, so sometime this week
You should expect to see them out on the road. Exactly.
So are these both going to be stationed at City Hall then?
No, engine 3, this one, I'm sorry, will go to the Newland Avenue station.
Okay.
Engine 4 will be down at the Allen Street station.
Okay, gotcha.
They're replacing the two trucks that were already assigned to those two companies.
Okay. And then, do you know what those trucks, is the city going to sell them?
The truck that was formerly engine 4, that truck has been scrapped.
Okay.
There was no value in it other than salvage, unfortunately. Engine 3, the former engine 3, we're going to be working with the DPW to try to possibly repurpose that truck or put it up for sale. Fire apparatus is very difficult when it gets old and worn out to be worth something to somebody else, because it's really a purpose-built vehicle. It's really hard to reconfigure a custom-built piece into another purpose. So.
Right.
Likely that one will be scrapped also, unfortunately, but we're going to look at our options and see if there's anybody that's possibly interested in purchasing it.
And either way, when you look at it, I imagine from a department standpoint, you want to make sure your guys have the best gear, and that having something around that's not to specs, it's not a safety issue.
Correct. Yeah. I kind of look at it like this: if those two pieces of equipment were worn out, and it was more cost effective to purchase new versus repairing them to keep them going, it would be folly to invest more monies into them at this point when we've already purchased replacement equipment.
Right. Is there anything else about these trucks that you want the public to know? I imagine it's probably pretty exciting for you and your firefighters to be able to really try these out and after all this time of waiting for the upgrades.
It is. The members are very excited. We're always very thankful when we can invest in new equipment and have the new equipment get outfitted. All the outfitting is done completely in-house.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't understand that when you buy a fire truck, it doesn't come with all the stuff in it. We repurpose almost all of our tools into a new piece of equipment. So a lot of what you see here, the hose, the nozzles, the hand tools, the saws, most of those things are being repurposed from the previous pieces of equipment that they were already stored on. So we try to keep the cost down. We do all of that outfitting in-house. We have a committee that does that. And I can't thank the members enough for enabling all of this to go around. It's certainly, all the credit goes to the members of the department and the support of the community. Otherwise, these things wouldn't come to fruition at all.
It seems like, looking around it today, that it took probably a while to get everything where it needed to be.
We took delivery of these trucks in April, and we are now in June, and
Yeah.
it takes a couple months.
Yeah,
Yes,
to,
it does.
To
Yeah.
really make sure everything's secured, put in place,
Yeah.
you have the right tools.
Exactly. The pieces of equipment that we're replacing aren't set up like these are, so it's not like you just take a tool out of one and put it in the next. Some things are like that, but for the most part, no, you have to completely start from the drawing board, and it's just a lot of trial and error to install all of that equipment into the trucks. Of note, well, likely the city will own these trucks for 30 years plus.
Yeah.
So you try to do your best to hit a home run right out of the gate, and get everything set up on there that's going to be workable for the members, both for today and then in the future.